United, but I'm interested to see and hear what Arteta says after the game. You saw the expected goals there. I'm fed up hearing about expected goals and pressure, and that's not the story of the game if you watch the game, which is what he said against Newcastle. Lots of possession, but not a lot of clinical finishing in the final third. Guess what? We have the same story over and over and over again. It is so obvious for Arsenal. And yes, they're missing Saka. Yes, they're missing some key players, but they're still getting into those areas, but they're not punishing sides. And when you don't punish sides, you give them opportunity, hope, and a chance at the other end. And that's what happened here. You look at the stats in the Newcastle game, and then you go and look at the stats in this game, albeit United were down to 10 men. But you go and look at the stats, and they're probably going to be very similar. Possession, crosses, chances. But once again, Arsenal have come out in the wrong end. And when you don't have people up front that are good enough to take you to the next level, which I think is the case with Arsenal, Arsenal will remain to be bridesmaids and not the bride. I just believe that. I mean, penalty apart, this is a weekly occurrence here from Kai Havertz, right? And it's almost like I feel I'm talking about Kai Havertz every time Arsenal play and every time we're on the show. And it's not because I want to do it, but it's because he plays in such an important position and he misses so many big chances. Now, I don't care about this. Anybody can miss a penalty. And actually, it was a very, very, very good save from the Manchester United goalkeeper. But if you're going to challenge the Liverpools and the Cities for the Premier League, you need a player in the front line that is way more effective than this guy is. And I know there are people who, and obviously Arteta's one of them, he sort of can't see past them, it seems. And I know they don't really have many other options, but that's his choice. It's his choice. He's had transfer windows to address this. He hasn't done it. He's unlikely to do it in January unless they panic. Maybe he will with the Jesus injury. I don't know. But what we do know is Chelsea were willing to sell the player because he wasn't prolific and consistent enough. And let's not forget, Arsenal buy him as a midfielder. That didn't work. So it was another mistake from Arteta. Now he plays him up front and he works hard and he runs and he's a good guy and he's got a great attitude. But in terms of being good enough for Arsenal to go to the next level, whether it be the FA Cup, the Champions League, or tracking this Liverpool team down, if they don't get a goal scorer in that position, they're not winning the Premier League. End of story.
Is that fair?
I think at this point it's fair to say that. You know, I've watched them for the last 6 months, and you kind of feel that we're waiting for the Arsenal of the previous 2 seasons to come out in them, and you know it's there. You know it's there in them, but obviously, you know, for whatever reason, this season we haven't seen it so far. And so at that point, you know, you have to either go into the market and freshen things up. You know, we're missing big players at the moment, and listen, putting the ball in the back of the net is the hardest thing to do as a football player. It's very, very fine margins, and at the moment those margins we're missing out on. And listen, it doesn't help that we go and play against Newcastle the week before, who have a striker that we're heavily linked with. It's January, the window's open, and then we come and play in the FA Cup against United. You know, they go down to 10 men, we have so many chances, we can't score. All of these things coming in the same week, it doesn't help Mikel. You know, it doesn't help Arteta at all. And it only highlights and sheds light on the fact that, you know, they need firepower.
I'm not having this discussion about any player, if it's just 1 or 2 games. That would be ridiculous. But there's a pattern here, and there has been for a while. But he's not the only one. You know, Marino, ineffective.
Yeah.
Gabriel, you know, bit of a mistake for the Jesus goal, for the Fernandes goal. Tries to be too clever with the header on the halfway line, gets caught out. Declan Rice missing chances when he comes off the bench, an easy header should have. So there are many other factors, but that's the biggest one. I think the biggest one for me, because when everybody's fit, the back four will take care of itself. Young Lewis Skelly's a good player, Calafiore's a good player, Timber's a good player, centre halves are strong, keeper's been strong for the most part, midfield can be strong when everybody's fit. It's up here. That's where there's a gaping problem.
I think that's where the frustration comes from, is because, you know, it took Mikel a while to really build a framework and get the club back to, you know, challenging for the title. And you're so close, you know, and it must have been agonising last year to have missed out on, you know, a point or two. And when you feel that close and you just miss out, and you realise that there's just a couple of pieces, you know, two maximum pieces to complete the puzzle, that's where the frustration comes from. And I think that's what we're seeing now, you know, where the pressure is going to mount.
But you have to be ruthless, don't you, as a manager? These guys have done well for me, but we have to make a decision here. Where's the money need to be spent? Yeah. I'm sorry, but you're going to be a squad player because we're going to go in the market for this guy who's prolific.
And how long's Jesus out for as well is another question after we saw him go down.
Yeah, but we just don't know what that injury is. I mean, it looks so innocuous. But so these are all the questions for Arteta. But on the other side of the coin, it's been a brilliant story because Bruno Fernandes was a player who was getting sent off in his discipline, and was he a leader for them? Well, you have to say, and this is only a small sample, because we know he's a good player. We know that. But his attitude and his performances in the Liverpool game and in this game, I think, dragged the team alongside him.
Of course, as we just said, the winners here this afternoon. 3, Exeter City, one of the stories of the weekend in the 4th round for the first time since 1981. Number 8, Manchester City, who incidentally put 8 past Salford yesterday. 9 will be Millwall or Dagenham and Redbridge. Those two meet tomorrow night. 10 are the Premier League leaders, Liverpool. 13 are 8 times winners Chelsea, 17 are Tottenham, 21 Plymouth Argyle, the Championship's bottom club, of course upset Brentford yesterday, 23 Newcastle United.